Meantime, to you, Brooke, we want to move on to a topic here. It's Mahmoud Khalil, right? The former Columbia grad student who has been fomenting a lot of protest and unrest. Rashida Tlaib said this about his arrest, his deportation, possibly.
If you believe in constitutional rights, if you understand that they're targeting this person, and everyone knows he has been very vocal against the genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza, and they're targeting him and refusing him constitutional rights, who's next?
Yeah. What do you think, Brooke?
I think Rashida Tlaib is ridiculous that she would have failed law school. You do not have any right as a foreigner to come into this country and to organize pro-terror agitation and protest that violate the civil rights of Americans. You do not have that right. And what's controversial here is that you have an elected official who is arguing against the deportation of somebody who was the spokesperson for pro-terror elements, who was part of, organizing encampments where there were violent assaults, where there was mass trespass, where there are, rampant civil rights violations. What is she saying? It is ridiculous. He is just the first to go. And of course, he has a legal right to challenge his deportation, but he's absolutely going to lose it.
Meantime, Trump said this about Mahmoud Khalil.
We ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get him the hell out. I think that guy, we ought to get him. I heard his statements, too. They were plenty bad. And I think we ought to get him the hell out of the country.
Yeah, I got to go here, Ellie, but do you see more of this kind of action by the administration?
Absolutely, Trace. Listen, President Trump is displaying moral clarity that the American people were desperate for in the last 4 years, and this is why we elected President Trump. So, yes, he issued an executive order 8 days after coming into office, which brings all the powers of the federal government to combat anti-Semitism in this country, to deport aliens, foreign nationals like Mahmoud Khalil, who have come here. They've abused their stay here. They never would have been allowed in if they had been honest in the outset when they applied for visa and green card status that they support terror activities. And so we will hopefully see a lot more deportations.
Lastly to you, Brooke, Daily Wire says on Monday, after having seen the Trump administration cancel $400 million in federal funding to Columbia University over its failure to address anti-Semitism on campus, UCLA announced an initiative to combat hostility against Jewish people. What a coincidence, Brooke. Wrap us up. I've got 15 seconds.
Oh, wow. Bravo to them. In the meantime, they've tolerated for over a year and a half, again, violent assaults against Jewish students and academics. It's so sad that it takes President Trump threatening to withhold federal funding for a school to say that they are finally going to uphold not just the civil rights law and educational law, but their own student code. Shame on them for waiting for so long. And congratulations and kudos to President Trump, who has done more to fight radicalism and anti-Semitism in this country in just the past week than Biden had in his whole presidency.
Brooke Goldstein, Ellie Kohanim, Nathan Sales, thank you all.